Right, so this video I've not scripted, it's completely off the cuff, and because it's not scripted, and because I've not rehearsed it, and because I've not actually organised it, I want all of you to please take a pen and a paper out and take notes, because I'm going to give you a lot of information in no particular order, which means you potentially may have information overload. But I want to share a lot of the things that I've learned from leaving college. And from that time until now, I was 18 then, I'm 24 years old now, so it's been 6 years. I've been trading, which is my profession, for over 8 years. And I've just learned a lot of things. Now, I can't fit everything into one video, it's practically impossible, but I want to share the most important lessons that any one of you who are young, 18, 19, 20, up until even 24, 25, potentially some of you that are older than me as well, can benefit from. Because there's something that I've observed very clear, which is what I want to start this video on. A lot of people have not got their shit figured out. Irrelevant of age, you can be 30 years old, 40 years old. I've met 45-year-olds that are lost. They have no direction in their life. They're 20 odd years older than me. You know, and it's sad to see, because people have spent their whole life in a trance of some kind, suppressing a potential they knew was always there. And that's not a great sight to see. It's almost like being trapped in the middle of the ocean with no direction as to where to go. It's a scary place to be. So I left college at 18. Why? I instinctively knew, and also it was common sense, that if I want to achieve X amount of goals at a certain height, me working any job is not going to help me satisfy those goals, right? Let me make it clear, not everybody is supposed to be an entrepreneur as well. The economy would not function that way. It needs different sectors to be fulfilled. There have to be labour workers, there have to be people who do certain functions and have certain roles in society for an economy to work healthily. So this video is not based around you have to be an entrepreneur. Do what it is you like. The point of this video is just to express what I've learned, how that can benefit you in whatever you do, whether you're an accountant, lawyer, doctor, whether you own a business, or whether you're somebody who's young and you want to be an entrepreneur. It's just general advice from me. Point one is network. Network is massively underrated and it's massively underestimated as well. In this world, let me tell you one thing, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. You need to know the right people. I don't care how good you are at your skill set. Being a lone ranger will get you absolutely nowhere. It'll get you to a certain level and you can't go past that. You need a team, or you need to be around people who know what they're talking about, who are ahead of you. You need to make sure you're in a circle where you're not the best in that circle. If you're the best in your circle, you're in the wrong circle. Alright, and you need to elevate. Now, network. I knew for a fact that in university I could not actually obtain a network of people that were the kind of people that I needed around me. Now, I knew what kind of people I wanted around me and needed around me because I knew who I was. My question to you is, do you know who you are? And do you know who you want to become? So who you currently are, the current version of yourself, and who you want to become, your peak version. If you don't, get a pen and a paper, write that down. And you need to understand when you're writing this down that your life is going to be a movie. And you have to be the director, or somebody else is going to be the director for you. So you got to pick a choice there. Now, when you're the director, you can control a lot more things. You can control exactly what direction you're going to go in. Life events that happen, you can't control, but you can control your response to them. Right? Your response to life events is going to massively shape your character, believe me. And again, you should always monitor people. What I've learned is when they're under pressure, under stress, monitor what people are like, because their true character comes out. So you have to also pay attention to what your behavior is like, what your character is like when you're under a position of stress or pressure, because that will radiate to other people and it will put the right people off. Anyway, so you need to get clear on who it is you want to become, why you want to become that type of person, how much money you want to earn, and why you want to earn that kind of money. It's all good and well saying I want to be rich and wealthy, I want to be earning 50, 100k a month, a million a month, whatever it might be, I want to be a billionaire. But you have to write down why you want to be that rich and exactly what that kind of money will get for you, what it'll obtain for you. Because if you want to just drive around in fast cars and have a nice house and a few nice watches, you don't need 50k a month. You can do all of that on about 15k a month at most. You can access a lot of things on 15k a month after tax. So you get very clear, write that down. What kind of person do you want to marry? What kind of father, what kind of mother do you want to be? What kind of parent do you want to be? How do you want to raise your kids? Get very clear on it in every single detail and live it in your mind. Visualize that for a second. That way then, when you have an idea of what you want your life to be like, to some degree, whatever that is right now, you can start building a pathway to work towards that. It's very simple, but people don't do it. So because of that, they have an identity issue. And if you have an identity issue, You don't necessarily know truly who you are. And if that's the case, how are you going to know what kind of people you want around you if you don't even know who you are? As an example, if you want to become a top level athlete, say a basketballer, you know you want to be around top level athletes. But if you don't know who you want to be, you might want to aspire to be, let's say, a basketball player. It's like having doctors around you all the time. They're not going to benefit you. You need to be around people that are like you and that are better than you. Alright, so that's network. How do you get yourself involved with these kind of people? A couple of ways. You've got the internet. Get your mind primed a little bit. Marinate your mind with wisdom. Very important point. Marinate your mind with wisdom. You want to go onto YouTube, watch old lectures. Self-development, Jim Rohn, Earl Nightingale, Bob Proctor. These people know what they're talking about. Get your mind primed with them first. Read their books, right? Look into their literature and understand how to expand your mind. This is exactly what it'll do for you. This is absolutely free, and you will learn guaranteed more wisdom through those 3 people that I've mentioned than going through university for 10 years. And that's not just from my experience, because I didn't go to university. It's from hundreds, if not thousands of people that I've spoken to over the past 6 years that can attest to that for a fact. So get your mind primed with that first. The next thing you want to do is you want to hang around in areas where wealthy people are. High-end bars, gentlemen clubs, pick up golf as a sport even if you hate it. I don't like golf, but get around golf clubs of any kind, leisure clubs, high-end restaurants. Let's say you pick a high-end restaurant. This saying of, which you've all heard, don't judge a book by its cover, is half true. It's false for the rest of the world because they will judge you. Irrelevant of what you think, you're going to get judged. People judge you by how you look. From me to you, I would say don't judge anybody. That's why it's half true, half false. I would say don't judge anyone because, again, another thing that I've learned is someone who does not appear like they've got money usually have money, right? As a general rule of thumb. And a lot of people that appear as if they've got money usually don't have much of it, right? That's a general idea. It's not true in all cases, but you get my point. Don't judge anyone because you don't know what, again, situation somebody's in. Somebody could have a lot more money than you could think. They could have a lot more wisdom than you may think. But you have to understand going into the world that people are going to judge you no matter what. That's generalizing there. So let's say, for example, you want to go to a high-end restaurant. Don't turn up in a car that's half broken or worth very little money. You should be embarrassed about doing that, right? And there's a reason for that. This is an unpopular opinion, but I genuinely think you should only turn up in a car of any kind to these restaurants, or these places, or these high-end places if you've got a nice car. If you haven't got a nice car, don't go there and just walk there instead, right? You want to make sure that people, and you want to really be astute to this, they're going to look at you as to what you're wearing, what you're driving, and mainly your energy as well. That's what you need to focus on. So if you turn up outside and the front bumper of your car's hanging off, or it's old, or it's a cheap car, people unfortunately will judge you for that, right? You could even have money, let's say, but they will still look at that as a symbol. Whereas if you pulled up in an Aston Martin or a high-end car of some kind, and on top of that you carry yourself well, you're confident, you dress well, you smell good, right, you look fresh, think about whose attraction you will obtain. The right people, you know, and especially if you're a young guy or girl. Anyway, if you've not got a nice car, don't turn up to these places in your car. Walk there instead, or park it 2 streets away and turn up and walk in. And there's one thing you can help and you can focus on is your energy, because that will radiate off you. You know, and every one of you can attest to this. Have you not ever been in a room where somebody walks in and they have a presence about them? You can build that presence about yourself. It's the way that you carry yourself, your body language. People and humans biologically don't even realize it, but unconsciously pick up patterns, micro expressions that give off and that alleviate a certain energy in the end. You know, your tonality, it doesn't necessarily even matter about how you look, your facial features or anything like that. It's about how you carry yourself. So dress sense is another thing as well. Spend the extra bit of money that you earn, instead of wasting it on things you don't need, spend it on looking good a little bit. Spend it on some nice perfumes. It's not as expensive as you think, and you can appear like somebody you're not, which is a very important thing. I'm not saying be a complete fake through and through, but you have to put on an act of some kind. This is a very important lesson I have to give you, especially in negotiation, especially when you're appearing in these places. You have to initially appear as if you're somebody else. Everybody, newsflash, is an actor as human beings. Every social interaction that you have, people are acting. People are putting on the front that they want you to see. The only time that front will disappear, or that mask will come off, is when you get closer and closer to that individual and they start to reveal more of themselves. But over time, you'll find that's going to be natural anyway. Like your best friends or your family members are themselves around you because they're comfortable around you. Most people are not comfortable around new people, so they're going to put on an act, and you have to as well. But there's a limit. What do I mean by that? If you come to a point where, let's say for traders, for example, right? You want to find an investor. You've been speaking to this guy or this person for a while. When it comes to them asking you about your skill, please do not lie about your accolades, or don't show off things. For example, oh look, I retrieved this account or whatever, I'm 6-figure funded. Just don't bullshit them, because people can see straight through it. Don't over exaggerate yourself, is what I'm saying. You need to understand in these negotiations that you want to be completely honest when it comes to that. They can see straight through it, they've been through it, they know the game, they know the road. A lot of these guys, if they're a lot older, they've pretty much mastered body language, and they can essentially read your mind, so do not lie about that. But when it comes to appearance, right, you want to appear as if you're somebody you're not. You can look like you've got a lot of money, you might have £10 in your bank account, but it's better to come across that way, because then at least you can mix with the right people and you can get around the right people, and you come across a lot more respectable and presentable. So that's a very, very key lesson that I've learned, and that will get you so far you'll be shocked. And these things are not taught in school. Why would they be? Second thing you have to understand is scarcity determines value. Alright? Your scarcity determines value. This is why gold is worth more than water, because it's less accessible, it's more rare. If you're just an accountant, a lawyer, a doctor, and you're like everybody else in your profession, what's going to make you stand out? But imagine you're an accountant who can solve very niche issues. Very niche issues. The marketplace is going to offer you more money because you're valued at more of a price, because your skill set is more rare, because you can solve more rare issues. So the bigger the problem that you can solve, the more you will get paid, because individuals like that are rare. So very important, scarcity determines value. Think, is what I'm doing, if it is a doctor, a lawyer, a professor that you're becoming, or an engineer, whatever you want to become, if you're passionate about it, you have to ask yourself, what can I do in this field to become a rare individual so I can get paid and I can be offered more as an asset? If you're not passionate about doing those things, don't go to university. Why? This is why I didn't go. I'm going to get in debt. I'm going to have this illusion of freedom. People think enjoying themselves is going out at the weekend, clubbing every single weekend, which is draining. You're up all night, you waste all your money, you're around people that couldn't care if you got ran over tomorrow. They're not real friends. They're only friends conditionally because they're enjoying their time with you. The moment you start to focus on your goals and you start to not go out as much, those friends all of a sudden will disappear. Right? So many people that I speak to that have a problem with keeping the right company around them. It's shocking, and it's actually saddening as well, because they're dampening your potential. They're literally dampening your potential. You don't even realize it. It's a sedation of some kind. Oh, let's go out this weekend, let's do this, let's do that. You're so distracted for those years in university where you think you're enjoying yourself, but deep down you know you're meant for more. And then you leave, and then life hits you like a brick wall in the face with a debt. You're now a lot older. You're 20, 23, 24 years old. It's not old, but you're older than you were at 18. And you realized, crap, I've not actually learned any real life valuable skills. And like 20% of what you studied for is what you're going to apply in your job, if that's even if you get a job in your field, which is so rare nowadays as well. And then you realize about tax and money and interest and all these things that weren't prioritized and taught to you in school, because school's not about teaching you about how to make money. It's about teaching you how to become good at a profession that you're particularly looking to go into. But a lot of that you learn when you're actually in the profession, not even in university itself. So a lot of it is a waste. You're paying £9,000 something a year to learn skill sets that are not even considered modern wealth creation methods now. They're outdated. They're only, again, like I said, they're only going to keep you within a certain sector within the economy. If you want to become a doctor or a lawyer, an engineer, you need university and you have to go there. My point is, if you're going to become that and you're passionate about it, please excel to be the best in that, so that you can become more of a rare individual, so you can be valued higher and you can become a more valuable asset. Don't just become a doctor or a lawyer and be semi-passionate about it and just settle for average, because you're all meant for more, and so don't let people around you sedate you as well. But if you're not going to do that and you're not passionate about it and you're going to university because of family pressure or peer pressure, it's stupid. Don't do it, right? You'd rather the people around you, the loved ones around you, resent you for the next few years while you build, but at least you can put them in a better position. You're not a bad person for doing that. Anyway, you have to now think, if I listen and I give in to my family or my parents and I'm doing it for their happiness, would they not be happier if you're earning more money than you ever would have in a job through whatever skill set you've chosen to partake in, whatever that might be. There's so many ways to make a silly amount of money in today's world, in today's generation. Modern wealth creation methods, loads of ways. I picked trading 8 years ago. Whereas you can then put yourself in a position to earn so much more money by the time all your friends would have graduated. You can be sat on a lot of money. You can work a part-time job between 18 and 23 years old, stack loads of money. You have little to no expenses. You have no loans or debts or anything like that. You can be like 50 to 100 steps ahead. So there are a few points. So as a side effect of all of this as well, what I've also learned through traveling, I've not traveled a great amount, but I've traveled to a few countries. But I've spoken to loads and I've networked loads and I've been in so many different conversations with so many different types of people. And through that, as a side effect, you get very good at pattern recognition in people. You start to pick up, like I said before, on micro expressions. What does a certain type of body language mean? What way are they facing when they're talking to you? How they sat? Tonality, facial expressions, hand movements, all these kind of things. I'm not a master in it, but I'm better at it now than I was when I started. What does it mean? And you become a lot more aware to other people's behaviors and what their intentions are. And when you get good at that, guess what you also get good at? The same thing towards yourself. And when you're an individual who is hyper aware as to what they're doing, their actions, their thoughts, the way that you're walking, your confidence, your aura, all these kind of things, like I said, you will be so much further ahead of the curve than everybody else. You'll be shocked. That'll get you very, very far by understanding yourself. You can make improvements in yourself quicker. That's one. Another thing that is not necessarily something that I learned, but in retrospect I've realized the importance of it, is training. And I've been in martial arts Muay Thai since I was like 12 years old. I don't train it much anymore, but training as a whole, exercising your body, is probably one of the most important things in the world. You have to be able to be somebody who can, especially if you're a man, who can defend themselves. Right, so many guys that I speak to have never thrown a punch in their life. So please work on some kind of combat sport, because confidence is built through attaining accolades. You can't be confident if you've achieved absolutely nothing in your life. Sports, great. Competitions of some kind. You want to compete. You want to be able to show yourself that you're a hyper competitive individual and that you've achieved accolades, you've won at things, you've won trophies and medals. Every one of you can do that. Partake in a sport or an activity or a martial art and just get in there and do it. Because guess what? When you can then see, right, I have overcome this, I've done this very challenging thing before, and I've done it very, very well and I've overcome it. Any challenge that life gives you, you're way more confident in, because you can look back at things that you've done that are difficult and say, whoa, I've done that. And you have even more confidence, because people think you have to be earning loads of money to be confident. No. I know loads of people who haven't got much money, but they're very confident. So confidence doesn't just stem from money. Apologies guys, my camera overheated there, but finishing off my final point, finding a mentor. You need to find a mentor in what you do. A mentor and a teacher are different. Alright, a teacher is more skill set orientated, a mentor is somebody who has pretty much everything figured out to a degree, and they're in the position that you want to be in. Now, teachers in college or university, again, there's some very good teachers. I've had some amazing teachers in the past. There's also very bad teachers. I've had a mixture of both. But you can learn something from everybody. Don't be this egotistical person who just shuts off advice from someone because they're not earning much money. Because guess what? If they're not earning much money and you're a hyper-aware, you're a self-aware individual, guess what you'll do? You will sit and you will listen to observe the traits they have, so you don't embody the same traits. Because if a person like that, who's not in the position that you want to be in, has certain traits, you can eventually over time build a commonality as to what traits you should not have. Then you can self-assess and think, do I have any of those traits? And then you can look at people who've got the money, the wealth, and they're in the position that you want to be in, and you can cross-correlate now. And then you can start to really get clear on the differences. That's exactly what I did. So then you can get even more clear on who it is you need to be. You see, so if you're just shutting everybody off because they're not in the position that you want to be in, and you just ignore them or become ignorant, you don't learn as much, you don't grow as much. So don't be ignorant. Sit, listen, pretend to agree. Okay, yes, I understand what you're saying. And move on and do what you were going to do anyway, now with more knowledge and more experience as to what not to do. So that's a very, very key point that I've learned. But pick a skill, a niche skill, whatever it is, a high income earning skill set. Get around the right people, prime your mind with the right type of wisdom. Again, like I said before, dress well, smell good, work on your body, become confident through that, through attaining accolades like I mentioned, and then just give it time. And eventually things will work out. This is what I've learned, a very small portion of what I've learned since leaving college. It was the best thing I ever did. may not be the best thing for everybody. Again, if you want to become a doctor or a lawyer, you've got no choice, you have to go to university. But if you want something more out of life, you want to make more money, you want to be someone who is a person of power, has influence, right? You can do anything you want whenever you want, and you want to build towards that, then these tips that I've given will definitely 100% get you there for a fact. And you need to make sure, because the problem with today's world of social media and internet is that you're drowning in knowledge but you're starving of wisdom. And that's the problem. There's so much information online. The average individual is not going to know how to filter through that and navigate through what is particularly right or wrong. You know, and so there's drawbacks with that. You don't want to end up with the wrong mentor or wrong teacher of any kind. Learning a skill set, that's great, but they're not actually teaching you in the most effective way. And then you spend 4 or 5 years incorrectly, because it's not a waste, because you've learned eventually what not to do, but you spent those years incorrectly with the wrong person or wrong type of people, and you come out an individual who's not actually proficient in what it is they were intending to actually get good at. You know, there's a big problem with that. So you want to make sure that you can, at least in some way, shape or form, assess correctly. Again, if you're a hyper aware individual, like I just said, you're somebody who's switched on, you've already primed your mind with the wisdom, like I said, picking out a mentor is not going to be very difficult. You need to look for value sets as well. Do they have the same sets of values that you do? How long have they been around? I'll make a separate video on that, actually, how to correctly pick a mentor, but this is more around advice and lessons that I've learned. Very, very short, simple video. There's not much to this in terms of variety of tips, but these are the most powerful things that I've learned.